Today, we're going to have 100,000 bots play a strategy that starts off with $44 inside and has a quite interesting progression. This was submitted on dicedata.info by Mike Yap, and let's quickly go into the strategy and see how it works. The strategy starts off pretty simple. We're going to wait for a point to be established, and then we're going to place $44 on the inside numbers. Our first 3 hits, we're just going to collect, and then we're going to start pressing and collecting. When we press, we're going to press by $22 each until we get up to $130. Then we're going to add the 4 and 10 in the same pattern. From that point on, we'll have all 6 box numbers, and we're just going to alternate collecting and pressing. Now to demonstrate this, I'm going to choose bot number 43529. Now this bot actually had the best session out of 100,000 total sessions. We start off with that $44 inside. This bot just had an absolute wonderful session, and this first shooter is very impressive. So I'm going to go ahead and speed it up so that we can see the entire shooter. We have those first 3 collects, and now with the next hit, it's time to go up. We've added our $22 to that original 44. Collect again and then hit again. So now we're up to 20s and $24, and we just keep doing that. At this point, we're going to go ahead and add the 4. We'll collect this hit on the 5, and then after that, the next one is going to be buying the 10. That's another 5, wins $42 on that $30 place bet. And now we have all 6 box numbers. Let me speed this up to 10 times speed so that we can really get through it, because this shooter just goes on and on. There, our shooter has hit their 4th point. Now we are only pressing the inside numbers, and that's the way the strategy was written. In reality, you may want to actually up some of those buy numbers as well, and probably would have done a lot better had we done that. We're up over $1,000 for the shooter. Over 50 throws now. Our shooter has hit their 8th point. There's the 9th point. There's the 10th point. And here we're at roll 68, so we're going to slow it down a little bit. Our 11th point is going to be a 5. Nothing happens with the 12 boxcars. And there's our 7 out. So shooter 7's out, loses $524, but is up $2,808 for the shooter. 71 total rolls. Now let's look at the statistics. Overall, there was 1 million hands that the bots played, and they won 23.7% of them and lost 76.3%. 3 out of 4 actually lost money. So we know what we just saw in the demo is definitely not typical results. Let's actually see how much they won or lost. The most that any bot lost was $44 for a single shooter, and that's of course all we had invested, so that's all they could possibly lose. The most won was $4,221 for a single shooter. So that actually tells us the shooter that we just watched is actually not the best shooter throughout the entire simulation. Median 16 average is $3 lost. But notice what's going on with this strategy, which is different than a lot of other strategies, is that you lose often, but when you lose, you're losing just a little bit of money. And you have a very long tail to work with the winnings. Now, most of us are not going to play just for a single shooter, so I'd like to look at the sessions of 10 shooters. So we have 100,000 bots that played sessions of 10 shooters. Now our wins are a little bit more, 32.9 versus 66.8. So still about 2 losses out of every 3 bots. There was an unlucky bot that lost $44 for each of 10 shooters, so they lost $440 total. The most that any bots won over the session was $5,304. That was the bot that we saw earlier in the video. Median is a loss of $84 and the average loss is just $27. You can see there the middle 50% and the middle 90% are actually tightly bunched around the median and the average there. Our bankroll and our outlay should be pretty simple because we know that most of the bots are going to be putting out $44 each shooter. And we can see that as the minimum and the 5th percentile. Once we get up to the 25th percentile, it's over $100. Average is $165, and up at that 95th percentile is $295. Of course, the max is $440. This strategy will not go above that because you're only investing that $44 at the beginning of each shooter. Not a whole lot of surprise with which bets drove the wins. Most of it's going to be on the 6 and 8, and that's of course because those are the most common numbers to be thrown. We see the same pattern with the losses. Most of the losses are going to be on the 6 and 8 and on the 5 and 9 because that's where the bulk of the money is. This is definitely not a great strategy for a cold table. Very, very few wins, but again, the losses are not that great. Choppy tables, 27.7% are winning. And hot tables, 83.2% are actually winning money on hot tables. Here's the same information on a different view. On the x-axis, we have the 7 to rolls ratio, and that tells us how cold, choppy, or hot the table is. And on the y-axis, we have the amount that was won or lost by the bot. And you can certainly see an upward trend where hot tables are winning more money. Notice that the really great sessions are all on the hot side of the chart. Now, I wanted to see what would happen if we had a little bit more of an aggressive pressing strategy, so I ran another simulation with that. This is going to be the focus of my next video, but if you really want to preview, I do have it available on my Dice Data Think Tank site. This is my private community where you can see all of my simulation reports and a whole lot more. You can sign up at thinktank.dicedata.info. This is a page from the simulation report that is available on Think Tank. This chart is showing us how long it took for the bots to be in profit. On the x-axis, we have the throw number for that particular shooter, and in the y-axis, we have the percentage of bots that are in profit at that time. After 11 rolls, over 50% of the bots were in profit for a particular shooter, and after 16 rolls, 90% of the bots were in profit. By about 20 to 25 throws, the bots were virtually guaranteed to be in profit for that particular shooter. Now let's look at the house metrics. The bots bet a total of $137 million and won $57 million. The casino won $60 million, and the difference between that is a house take of about $2.7 million. That leads to an overall house edge of 1.97%. When we put these numbers into perspective, I would say that that is a low house edge. It's not the lowest that you can get, but it's definitely a low house edge. Almost 1 out of every 3 sessions won money, as we saw earlier. That's a moderate session win rate. The bots won bets on over 35% of all the throws. This is certainly a strategy for hot tables, and in general, the bots would expect about $39 for every $1,000 they outlaid to be earned in comps. This is new information that I haven't reported before. I will be covering this more in depth in later videos. Now, that's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think about this strategy in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and have good luck at the tables.